John Laird, Johnlaird, recovering legislator.
How long were you in the state legislature?
I was in the state assembly for 6 years. If you have a leader in the governor's office, you can make a difference on fundamental issues. And there are many issues that don't rise to the front page every day that are strong environmental issues. And the governor will be making decisions administratively with appointments to boards and commissions, with policy level on a whole host of environmental things. But no matter what people think of the current governor, the two things that he has really been strong on are implementation of AB 32, the greenhouse gases bill, and the Marine Life Protection Act to establish marine reserves along the coast to rehabilitate crashing fish populations. And we can't step back on either of those things, and we have to move ahead on a whole host of other fronts, and it'll be the governor that'll be setting the tone, bringing the public along, and making a difference on these, and some of them can't wait. And so a lot rides on who the next governor is.
What is it going to take to get the four candidates in the race to adopt a more pro-environmental platform? It doesn't really seem like anyone's in the race right now who's making the environment kind of a centerpiece of their platform.
I think that's correct, and part of it is the dynamics of the race. If there were a Democratic primary, people would be talking about environmental issues, and the fact that there isn't one has lessened that discussion. And the Republicans are in a different place where some of them tend to be more moderate on social issues such as choice and gay rights, and they have to go very conservative on others to deal with the base of their party. And there was a recent poll that was done on environmental issues, and it showed that on the Democratic side, only 4% of the respondents thought climate change would never happen. But on the Republican side, that number was 40%. And let me repeat that. 40% of Republicans polled in California said they believe climate change will never happen. And what that does is that means that candidates that are already trying to convince the base of the party that they're not as moderate as they might appear to be have to really move to the right on some of these issues. And so it presents a big dilemma to those of us that want to work on environmental issues. How do you move the Republican Party rank and file into the current century on environmental issues? And how do you make sure that the Republican candidates understand that they have to win in a state where a good environmental stance is mainstream California, and that they can't lock themselves into too rigid positions for the Republican base in the primary in order to be able to win in the general election? That's a big challenge, and we can all play a role in trying to educate them to what their general election will look like and make sure that they sort of hedge their bets in the primary.
Well, it's not just the Republican candidates, though, is it? We've heard from Jerry Brown recently some sort of rumblings about California's overregulated and CEQA being one of the primary problems. How do we push, you know, the candidate, the one candidate on the other side of the aisle at this point?
I think we really have to let him know that his base, the people that are going to elect him governor, are ones that believe that environmental protection is at the heart of what our state is and what makes it different from many other states. And if you've got a crashing fish population off the coast, you have to do what it takes to protect it. You can't just have it completely crash. And if you're talking about the climate, with AB 32, California is making a big difference. It is leading the way. The world is looking to us. And if you step back from that, it actually will have worldwide implications. And so I really think that the public would be with us on those issues, and I think he needs to hear that very clearly.
So beyond marine protection and AB 32, what are some of the other environmental issues the next governor is going to have to tackle and try to move forward in a positive way?
I think the next governor, regardless of the outcome of all the water issues, is going to have to move forward on that. If the bond is passed, move forward on it. If the bond is not passed, try to figure out how to put the pieces back together. Because even with the package that was approved, in my view, it didn't quite go far enough in the interest of compromise. You need to give some teeth to a Delta panel. You need to give some teeth to a 20% reduction per capita and make sure ag does its fair share in water conservation. You need to make sure that you actually monitor groundwater so that you know what the issues are. You need to know that water law is being followed, and if people are illegally diverting, there's teeth to that, and that helps us with where we're going in the future. And a governor's going to have to deal with those issues. And so those are very important. The California Environmental Quality Act has been at the heart of environmental protection in California in recent decades, and it's not anything that's cost jobs. It's actually guaranteed that we think about the right things when we move ahead in California. And that will come under assault again. And we have to make sure that that's protected, that we have a governor that is aware of that. And there's a whole host of issues, whether it's plastic bags, continued progress on air quality, continued parks acquisition, funding the state parks so that it's not a year-to-year thing with them being on the chopping block. There are many, many issues that are at stake in this election and with who the next governor is that aren't just the big ones.
Given the breakdown of the budget process and the really extreme economic circumstances we in California and the nation find ourselves in, what really can we expect to happen in the next couple of years with regards to the environment? Is it continue to be under attack because of this sort of false dichotomy of jobs versus the environment? And how do we move people past that to see what could be possible with a green economy, for instance?
Well, it's sort of up to whoever's watching this right now. Are you going to take action in the elections, in the public forum, to make sure that people understand that's a false dichotomy, that every time there's an economic downturn, people try to say, let's sacrifice the environment for jobs, and yet in the waste industry, by diverting a lot and being more sustainable, we created jobs. By cleaning up the air, we have been creating jobs. And when we continue to clean up the water, clean up greenhouse gas emissions, establish solar, move into dual water systems, do all the things that are really the keys to the next steps in sustainability, they're going to create jobs. And the sooner we can get to them, the better. And yet, it's one of those things that it's not something I can do individually. It's not anything a new governor can do individually. It's people making those decisions about how they live their life and then engaging in the political process and acting on those that are really going to make a difference. And I mean, the perfect example is solar, because 5 or 6 years ago, coming out of the energy crisis, there was a real limit to how people could feed back power they generated into the grid. Well, the only way that's going to change over time is that there are so many people that have solar on their houses that there's a political constituency to change that. And we're getting near that right now. And that is true on any of a number of issues. As I'm always fond of saying, the city of Los Angeles grew by 1 million people in the last generation on the same amount of water. So they absorbed all their growth on the water that they had going in. And they did it by individuals being more efficient in how they used their water, by recycling, by reuse. They did it through individual actions and collective political leadership, and that's what we really need. And so even if people are feeling helpless, if they take some control of their own life on these issues, that will grow together and be some of the leadership that actually the leaders will follow.
Is there anything sort of, in conclusion that you want to say about 2010, the governor's race, the sort of future of California and our ability to protect our environment in this challenging circumstances?
I think the one other thing I'd say is that frequently people get discouraged or they get tired, and the reason is those people that have a financial interest in not protecting our environment never go away. That financial interest never goes away. And I think everybody needs to realize they're in this for the long haul. And you'll win some and you'll lose some. But the reason we've made great progress in California is that environmentalists have never left the table. They've never left the battlefield. And that's the important thing for everybody to remember going forward, is that even if there's a momentary setback, we've made long-term gains because everybody's been in it. to make a difference. And so just keep making that difference and never write off being involved, because that is what has made the difference.